Sir, you may please start, sir.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, sir. Okay,
Thank you.
so hi, hello everyone. So yesterday we were discussing the question. So discussing about the homework question. Right? This was the question, everyone. So we just bluntly, first of all, try to see which form it is coming in. So when we try to see 1 plus x raised to 2 by x, so its value came out e square, right? Because it was 1 raised to infinity form. So e square by e square. What is e square by e square? It was 1. 1 raised to
One,
infinity form,
one
right?
raised
It
to
was 1
infinity.
raised to infinity. It was
Yes,
1
sir.
raised to infinity. So how do we solve 1 raised to infinity? We go for e raised to f of x minus 1 into g of x,
G of
right?
x.
So
Yes, sir.
e raised to f of x minus 1. So I just written this minus 1 can be written like this into g of x. So into g of x, and this sin x I had already written as x. So now you did not have you do not have any expansion of 1 plus x raised to 2 by x. For sure shot, you have an expansion of 1 plus x raised to 1 by x. You have it. E into 1 minus x by 2 plus 11 x square by 24 and some higher order. You have this, right? You have this thing. So obviously, yesterday, some of you had told that if we don't have an expansion for 1 plus x raised to 2 by x, it is nothing to worry about. It's nothing to worry about because you can square this expansion. But the issue is that it is an infinite expansion. So how will you go about squaring this? Gayatri, if you tried this question, or anyone of you who tried this question, Gayatri, Sravani, Varshini, Ayushi, Akshaya, how this is an infinite expansion. How will you go about like how will you square this thing? Obviously, if you square this thing, you will get 1 plus x raised to 2 by x. You will get that. But how will you go and square this thing?
In place of x, we should keep x squares.
Will that square it? No, that will actually give me 1 plus x square raised to 1 by x square. This is what it will give me. If in place of x, I keep x square. I want to square this whole thing, like take the square of all of this. Can anyone think of it?
Squaring on both sides.
Yeah, I mean, squaring on both sides, but your right-hand side is an infinite expansion. It is an infinitely long series. How will you take the square of an infinitely long series? What will you do? Can you think? So just look at the power. What power do we have in the denominator of the limit? I have got my limit, x tends to 0. What is the power that I have in the denominator in this series?
Squares.
Power of x. How much? Power of x. What is the power of x I have in the
One,
denominator?
sir. One.
1, right? I've got this x. So all the terms that are higher than x square, they are useless to me. Do you all agree? All the terms that are higher than x raised to 1 are actually useless to me because x is tending to 0. So if I get any term that is higher than x raised to 1, if I get x square, I get x cube. If I get x raised to 4, x raised to 5, all of these terms are actually useless because when I divide them by x, what will happen? Tell me what will happen if I divide them by x? Gayatri, what will happen? In assuming that in the numerator, I get any term that is higher than x raised to 1. Okay, I get x square, x cube, x raised to 4. If I divide them by x and I substitute my limit x tends to 0, what will happen?
0.
Tell me. Yeah, they will be equal to 0, right? Because they will have a power of x left in them. One power of x will be left if I divide them by x. So what should I do about it? Like, how will that help me in squaring? In taking the square, how will that thing help me? Can you think? So see, I am telling you that all the powers that are greater than x raised to 1 are useless to me. So I can just ignore them. Just take the squares of the things that are not greater than x raised to 1. So tell me, what are the terms over here that are not greater than x square? So e into 1 minus x by 2 whole square, right?
Yes, sir.
Because all of these terms, if I take the square also, they come here and they will be useless. So I will just take the square of this thing. So tell me, e square into 1 minus x by 2 whole square. So I got e square into 1 plus x square by 4 minus x, right?
Yes, sir.
Right? Yeah. So I will just substitute this thing over here in my series. So I've got limit extends to 0. So in place of 1 plus x raised to 2 by x, I will just put this thing. So I've got e square plus e square x square by 4 minus e square x minus e square whole divided by e square into 4 by x. Right, everyone?
Yes,
So
sir.
my e square and e square got cancelled. My e square and e square got cancelled. So I'll cut my e square with all of these terms. So I will get 4 by x into x square by 4 minus x. Right? Correct,
Yes,
everyone?
sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So tell me, if you multiply this thing inside, what will happen?
4x
Just
square.
4x square. Why will it be 4x square? It will be x minus 4, right? Just multiply this thing with inside. What will happen? Right, everyone? Okay, so if you're not understanding, I'll just so apply distributive property. So 4 by x into x square by 4 minus 4 by x into x. Just send it inside. So in the first term you get x, in the second term you get 4, right? Is this correct, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Got it. And my limit x is tending to 0. So what will be x minus 4? What will it be?
Minus 4.
Minus 4.
Minus 4.
So is minus 4 the final answer of this limit?
No, sir. Sir,
What is
e
my
raised to
final answer?
minus 4.
E raised to minus 4. Correct.
E raised to
Navneet
minus.
is.
But
Arey,
e raised
Navneet.
to
Hi. Hi, Navneet. How are you?
Fine, sir.
I
How
was
are you, sir?
remembering you only. Arey, I'm fine. I just remember yesterday you gave the correct answer, right? E raised to minus 4. I am glad how you did it. Did you do it using the same method
Yes,
that
sir.
I have done? Okay, great, great. I am really glad. You gave the answer in about 30 seconds. I am really happy how fast you are. Okay, great. Great work. Okay, so today I just wanted to discuss that trick with you, the one that I had given you in case of infinity by infinity form. If you have an infinity divide by infinity form, and both your numerator and your denominators, both of them are like polynomials. So what was the trick that I had given to you? Anyone can tell me?
we can ignore sign function.
If no, I am asking you that it is infinity by infinity form. Okay,
Coefficient of
infinity by infinity form. Yes, correct. Highest
Mm,
powers, right? Highest powers. Okay.
yes, sir.
So let us just take this case. Limit x tends to infinity. A by x plus b by x square plus c by x cube whole raised to, sorry, whole divided by, let us just take any number e by x plus uh, f by x square plus g by x cube. Can you tell me which form is this? A, B, C, E, F, G. All of these are any numbers, any like real numbers, any constants. finite values. A, B, C, E, F, G are any numbers. Can you just tell me which form is this? Which form is this, everyone?
0 by infinity.
0 by infinity. Okay. So just tell me, if x is tending to infinity, where will 1 by x tend to?
0,
If
sir.
x is tending to infinity, 1.
0.
Okay, great. Where will 1 by x square tend to?
0.
What about 1 by x cube?
Same, sir. 0.
Okay. So a into 1 by x. Where will a into 1 by x go to? A into 1 by
0,
x?
sir.
0,
0.
sir.
What about b?
0.
0 plus 0 plus 0 divided by 0 plus 0 plus 0.
0.
0 by
So it is 0 by 0 form.
Yes, sir.
It is 0 by 0 form, everyone.
Yes, sir.
Okay, it is 0 by 0 form. It is 0 by 0. Okay, great. It is 0 by 0 form. Correct. So let us just do that thing. I will multiply and divide by x cube. I will multiply the numerator and denominator both by x cube. Okay, by x cube. So I can write this thing as ax square plus bx plus c whole divided by
EX
by
square
EX square.
plus FX plus G.
right. Which form is this now?
Infinity by
Correct. It is
Infinity
infinity
by
by infinity.
infinity.
So can you just apply your trick over here? Right? Just take the
X
powers
power.
along with the, yeah. So it will be ax square in the numerator and ex square
EX
in the,
square.
right?
A by E, sir.
So yeah, my final answer will be a by e. A by e. Correct, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Got it, everyone? Okay, great. Great. Now let us just do one more thing. I have the numerator, okay? I have the numerator. So I write the numerator and denominator again.
सर एक बार आंसर बताओ.
What, Navneet?
हाँ सर. Okay, sir.
Any question?
No, sir.
Okay. So if you look clearly, out of x raised to -1, x raised to -2, and x raised to -3, which of these has the highest value? Like -1, -2, -3. Which of these has the highest? Which of these is the greatest number? -1, -2, and -3. Which of these is greatest?
-3.
Minus 1, sir.
-3 is greatest.
Minus
So
1.
like, yeah, -1 is the greatest number, right? -1 is the largest number. All of you agree? -1 is greater than
Yes, sir.
-2. Yeah. So if you just apply your trick again and think about it clearly, so limit x tends to infinity. Now I ask you to just take your highest power. So your highest power is x raised to -1. So it will be e x raised to a x raised to -1 and divide by
A
e
by
x raised
E,
to
sir.
-1. Yeah, it will be a by e. So one thing that you can think now, that it is not required that your limit is in the infinity by infinity form. See, here our limit is actually in 0 by 0 form. But if your x is tending to infinity and your numerator and denominator both are polynomials, so you can apply that trick. What was the trick? Just take highest powers. Fine. It is not required that it is in the only, it will happen in infinity by infinity form. If your x is tending to infinity, I mean your variable is tending to infinity, so then also, but only thing you should keep in mind is that both your numerator and your denominator should be polynomials. Then also you can take the highest power and apply this trick. And okay, so let us just see do a few more questions related to it, or one more question related to it. Okay. So you have this thing over here. Okay, it is actually this one. Okay, that's it. This is your question. So 2 by x cube plus 3 by x, 2 by x square plus 3 by x. Fine, that's it. So can you think, first of all, which form is this? It is obviously 0 by 0 form,
0 by 0,
right?
sir.
Because if x is tending to infinity, 1 by x will go to
0.
0. So it is 0 by 0 form. How would you solve this? Like if I give you to solve such a limit and assuming that you don't know this trick, okay, for the time being, you don't know this trick. How would you solve this? Maybe I can multiply x cube in both in the numerator and denominator, right? I can multiply both x cube. So if I multiply x cube, what will happen? So it will be 2 plus 3x square divided by, tell me.
2x, 3x square.
2x, 3x square.
Right? You got this?
Yes, sir.
Got this, everyone? Okay. So now maybe you can just divide both your numerator and your denominator by. So assuming that even like you don't know the previous trick also. So earlier we were applying the trick for infinity by infinity form. For the time being, I'm assuming that you don't know that also. So you will be dividing your numerator and denominator by x square. So it will be 2 by x square plus 3 divided by 2 by x plus 3. Everyone? Right, everyone? Is this correct?
Yes.
This is correct? Okay. So tell me now, which form is this? If I substitute my value x as infinity, which form is this?
Infinity by infinity.
Okay, great. Gayatri, which form is this? Substitute your x as infinity.
0 by 0.
0 by 0. Anyone else? Who would try?
Sir,
Bhavna,
sir.
what,
0 by
what?
0, sir.
It is 0 by 0. Everyone, 0 by 0, sure.
Yes, sir.
Look again.
Infinity by infinity,
Sir,
sir.
is it answer?
No. Answer is 1.
Yes, sir.
Array, it is not
Answer
an
is 1.
indeterminate form. It is not an indeterminate form.
Yes, sir.
Why are you getting confused? It is
Yes.
not an indeterminate form. You have a plus 3, right? 2 by x square will go to 0. 2 by x will go to 0. So you are left with 0 plus 3 divided by 0 plus 3. 3 by 3. It is not an indeterminate form. Answer is 1. Right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So what was there to get confused about? So answer is 1, right? The value of this limit is 1. So just write it in the other form. So you get 2x to the power of minus 3 plus 3x to the power of minus 1 divided by 2x to the power of minus 2 plus 3x to the power of minus 1. Now tell me, out of minus 2 and minus 1, sorry, minus 1 and minus 3, which of these is the greatest? Minus 1 or minus 3? Which one is greater?
Minus 1, sir.
Minus 1 is correct. What
Minus
about
1.
minus 1 and minus 2?
Minus 1.
Minus 2.
1, sir, answer.
Minus
Mi-
1. Again, you get your answer 1.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Got it now, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Great. So from this trick, I will just tell you one more trick. So you can just easily think of that also. So see, if your x is tending, like assuming that earlier your x was tending to infinity, okay. I'll just assume that earlier your x was tending to infinity. Okay. And you were taking the highest powers in case of polynomials. So now tell me, I assume a variable y that is 1 by x. Where will y tend to?
0, sir.
0. Okay, correct. 0. And x was being raised to the highest powers. Okay, like the power of x was maximum. So 1 by x, 1 by x, right? It is 1 by x. So it is negative. So it can also be written as x to the power of minus 1. So for example, you raise x to n power. That is your maximum power. So here it will be raised to x to the power of minus n, right? All of you agree? All of you agree? It will go to negative powers. Do you all agree with this?
Yes, sir.
If I was raising x to n power, so over here it is 1 by x. So it can be written as x to the power of minus n. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Like just it is just inverse, like just reciprocal of this thing. What will be the reciprocal of x raised to n? What will it be? What is the
1 by
reciprocal of
x
x
raised
raised
to
to
n.
n? 1 by x raised to n. So
X raised
1 by
to
x raised to n can be written as x raised to minus n, right?
Yes, sir.
So
Yes,
if we
sir.
were talking about highest powers in case of infinity, if my value of n grows really large, my value of minus n, will it grow smaller or will it grow larger?
Smaller, sir.
Smaller.
Yeah, my value of minus n will grow smaller, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, my value of minus n will definitely grow smaller. If my n is growing very large, I have a number n that is positive and it is growing really large, my minus n will grow smaller. Easy? Easy, right? Okay. So you tell me what will happen in this case when my variable x is tending to 0. What will happen in this case? If my variable x is tending to 0 and both numerator and denominator are polynomials. So tell me which powers should I be taking in both numerator and denominator? I will be considering the lowest powers. Fine. Everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So great. Today we will be just learning about one special concept. So you have got limit x tends to infinity, e raised to x by x. Can you tell me which form is this? Which form is this?
0 by 0.
How much?
Infinity by infinity.
Infinity by
Correct.
infinity.
Infinity by infinity. Correct. So if it is infinity by infinity, and we have e raised to x divided by x. So obviously e raised to x is an exponential function. It is not a polynomial function. So if we have e raised to x in the numerator and a polynomial in the denominator, I guess we can go for L'Hopital's rule. Can we apply L'Hopital's rule over here?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we can go for L'Hopital's rule. So you've got limit x tends to infinity, e raised to x by x. What is the derivative of e raised to x?
E raised to x.
Okay. What is the derivative of
1.
x?
1, sir.
Okay. So is we have got e raised to x divided by 1. Is this an indeterminate form?
No,
No.
sir.
No.
Infinity.
So what is the value of the limit? Infinity. Correct.
Infinity, sir.
Infinity.
Correct. 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 So just take any other case. Take this case, e raised to x by x cube plus x square plus x plus 1. Something like this. Which form is this?
Infinity by infinity.
Infinity by
Infinity by
infinity, sir.
Infinity by infinity. Correct. So if it is infinity by infinity, should we go again for L'Hopital's rule?
Yes, sir.
Should we go for L'Hopital's rule? Yeah, we can go for L'Hopital's rule, right? So you have got e raised to x by x cube plus x square plus x plus 1. So let us just do it directly. What is the derivative of e raised to x?
E
E
raised to
raised to X.
What is the derivative of this thing? The denominator.
Four,
What is
sir.
it?
4.
How much?
4.
4. I'm sure you have not like revised, like you have not looked at the lessons of differentiation. I would want you to go back and look at that. That were both common to JEE and math students. Sorry, both JEE and Neet students. So can anyone tell me what is the derivative of this thing?
1.
3x square plus 2x plus 1
Correct. So again, which form do we land in? Which form is this again?
by infinity.
Okay, infinity by infinity. So I guess we should go for differentiation again,
Yes, sir.
right? So tell me, e raised to
E
x will remain e raised to x only. Huh.
6x plus 2.
Okay. Which form is this again?
Infinity by infinity.
We should do again.
E raised to
So you
x.
are left with by,
6,
tell
sir.
me, is this an indeterminate form?
No, sir.
No. What is the value?
Infinity.
Infinity.
Correct. So in general, if you see, in general, if you take literally any polynomial, so you have limit x tends to infinity, e raised to x divided by any polynomial that you can think of. So when you keep on differentiating, you keep on applying your L'Hopital's rule. You keep your degree, maximum degree of the polynomial, any much like any finite number you can think of. You keep it as large as you can think of. You take your maximum power to be x raised to 1000, x raised to 1 lakh, anything, x raised to 10 raised to 6, anything. You keep it any number. What will happen? That when you keep on differentiating it, your polynomial will keep on getting 1 degree smaller. See, here we had the maximum degree was like the maximum power was x cube. When I differentiated it one time, it came down to x square. Then it came down to x raised to 1. And then finally I got a constant value. But the e raised to x won't change. So the value of this limit will always come out to be what?
Infinity.
Tell me. Yes, it will always come out to be infinity. No matter how long or what degree of the polynomial you take, it will always be infinity. Why? Why will it be always infinity? What is the reason?
E power x.
E raised to x only.
Yeah, because e raised to x is an
X tends
exponential
to
function,
infinity, sir.
right? So
Yes.
yeah, e raised to x, the derivative of e raised to x will remain e raised to x, and the polynomial will keep on getting 1 degree smaller, 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 smaller. So, so in general, I can say that e raised to x is infinitely times larger than any polynomial that you can think of. Fine. E raised to x, when obviously when x is tending to infinity, only then I am talking about. If x is tending to infinity, so I can say that e raised to x is infinitely times larger than any polynomial. Okay. So let us just see a limit. Fine.
Sir.
First of all, which form is this?
Infinity by infinity.
By infinity.
Infinity by infinity. Correct.
Infinity.
It is infinity by infinity. Absolutely correct. So see, what is happening over here is your e raised to x. Okay, so for the time being, I'll just remove this 2 from here. So what will happen if you apply L'Hopital's rule? What will happen if you keep on applying L'Hopital's rule again and again and again? What will happen?
Infinity.
How, like what will happen?
E raised to x will be constant. I mean, it will
Yeah,
be
correct.
removed.
And your polynomial will disappear after 100 differentiations, right? Your
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
this long polynomial will disappear after you do differentiation 100 times. What about the denominator? The same will happen in the denominator also, right?
Yes,
Yes,
it will
sir.
be 0.
Your this will, yeah. So I can just directly write it as e raised to x divided by 2 e raised to x. My
E
answer
raised to
is half,
1 by 2.
yes,
right?
sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So if you can just think of it, there is a very small trick related to e raised to x also. That
Sept,
if in the numerator or yes, no, Neet, ask.
एक चैट बॉक्स में क्वेश्चन भेजा, वो एक बार करके बता सर, डाउट है।
Yes, I'll do it. Just a minute. So you can just think you have got e raised to x and a polynomial along with it. So if x is tending to infinity, your exponential function will always be infinitely times larger than the polynomial. So in case if in the numerator or denominator you get like you get exponential function, so not in general, like it is not required that it would be e raised to x only, it can be e raised to 2x also, e raised to 3x also, it can be something like this also. So not necessarily that it will be like e raised to x only, it can be e raised to 2x also. So it will behave the same way as e raised to x. So if you get any exponential function, so what will you do? You will ignore the polynomial. Great. Got it, everyone? What I'm trying to say? I'm trying to
Yes.
say that if in the numerator or in the denominator you get a polynomial along with an exponential function, so what you can do, you can just ignore the polynomial. Just re, uh, ignore all the terms of the polynomial. Just substitute your values of, just keep your exponential function intact and then solve it. Okay. So let us just see it if you can do it this time. Navneet, just one question and then I'll be doing yours. Yours is really simple. Just go for L'Hopital's rule. Just a minute.
Is it
Fine.
1 by 2 is the answer, sir?
Answer. How much? 1 by
Half,
2. Yes,
sir.
correct. Correct. Answer is 1 by 2. Great. So obviously you will just apply your trick and you will just ignore your polynomial. So after ignoring your polynomial, you get e raised to 3 e raised to 3x plus 2 e raised to 2x plus e raised to x divided by 6 e raised to 3x plus 4 e raised to 2x plus e raised to x. After this, what will you do? What can you do after this? Can you just think? Very small step you need to
Is to
do.
3x. Divide, sir.
Sorry? No. What will you do? Like you are telling that we will just consider e raised to 3x, right? That is what you are saying?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, but why would we do that? Do you have a reason for that? Like your thing is absolutely correct. What you're saying is absolutely correct. Why would we
Highest
do that?
power.
Why would we do that? Highest power, but highest power I had told you in polynomial. This is not a polynomial. 3 e raised to 3x plus 2 e raised to 2x. This is the sum of exponential functions. Think back again. I mean, what you're doing is absolutely correct. And I understand that you have got the insight of this. But the logic you are giving me doesn't seem fine. So, like, is it possible for you to convert this thing into a polynomial? Just think. Is it possible for? It is possible. I'll just tell you how. See, I'll assume a variable y that is e raised to x. Fine. So tell me, if x is tending to infinity, where is y tending to?
0.
Zero.
No, it is e. Think again. It is e raised to x. X is tending to infinity. E raised to infinity. What is e raised to infinity? E raised to infinity. What will it be?
Infinity.
How much? Infinity, correct.
By
E raised to infinity will be infinity only, right?
Yes, sir.
So see, if your y is e raised to x, you can write your e raised to 2x as y square, and you can write your e raised to 3x as y cube. So now you have got limit y tends to infinity, 3y cube plus 2y square plus y whole divided by 6y cube plus 4y square plus y, right?
Yes, sir.
So now you have got your infinity by infinity form. So just take the highest coefficients. So 3y cube by 6y
6y.
cube. Your final answer is half.
6. Half.
I know, like you have got the insight of the question, like of taking the highest powers, but you should be accurate that why we are taking highest powers of the exponent also. So this is because we can convert this into a polynomial and then take the highest powers, right? Got it, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Really got it? So
Yes,
whenever you get
Yes,
e raised to
sir.
x, whenever you get e raised to x along with a polynomial, you will just take off e raised to x, and all of this will be 0. Okay, now let us just look at the question he has given. Navneet, just go for L'Hopital's rule in this one actually. Okay, anyways, limit extends to a plus 2x to the power of half minus 3x to the power of half divided by 3a plus x to the power of half minus
X square.
4x to the power of half. Hmm. Which form is this, Navneet? Which indeterminate form does it fall in? Can anyone tell me? Okay, just a minute.
0 by 0.
0 by 0, sir.
Yeah, it is 0 by 0 form. Great. If it is 0 by 0 form, we should go for differentiation. Should we apply L'Hopital's rule directly? Right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So just go for it.
Yes.
So you have got limit extends to a. So this will be half into a plus 2x to the power of minus half into 2 minus, what will it be? Half into 3x to
Half
the power of
into.
minus half into 3, right?
Yes, sir.
Whole divided by half into
3a
3a
plus
plus x to the power of minus half multiplied by, what will come over here?
1, sir.
1.
Great. Into half into 4x raised to minus half into
Into
4,
4.
right? Does it still remain an does it still remain an indeterminate form? Is it still an indeterminate form?
Sir.
Uh, is it an indeterminate form or not?
No, sir.
No, it is not an indeterminate form. So if it is not an indeterminate form, what can you do? It is not an indeterminate form. What will you do now? What will be your next step? Amani or Sravani? Since this is not an indeterminate form, what can you do?
Substitute a.
Yeah, just substitute your value a, right? So you will get 3a raised to minus half minus 3 by 2 into 3a raised to minus half whole divided by uh, half into 4a raised to minus half minus 2 into 4a raised to minus half. Fine. And you can just do the calculations on your own. Like I won't be helping you with the calculations. You can look at it on your own and get the final answer. So, okay, got this, Navneet?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So, just one more question. Limit x tends to infinity, e raised to
Final
11x
answer 2
minus
by
7x. Sorry?
sir. Final answer 2 by 3 root 3.
Okay, okay. 2 by 3 root 3. Okay, great. Like you can just do the calculation on your own. I won't be helping you with the calculations. You can see whatever it becomes. So can anyone just tell me, limit x tends to infinity, e raised to 11x minus 7x. What will happen to it? So since we know when x is tending to infinity, your exponential function is infinite times higher
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
than any polynomial, right? You know this?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So compared, like just think of it in the a basic logical way. E raised to 11x is infinitely times larger than 7x. So where will this limit go to? I mean, it's really just simple.
Infinity, sir.
Yeah, correct. Because
Infinity, sir.
yeah, because e raised to 11x is infinitely times larger than this one. So even if you subtract 1 from infinity, so like if you even if you take infinity minus 1, the final answer is also infinity because
Infinity.
you subtract any finite value from infinity, it is infinity. Okay. So like this one was a really basic question to start with. Now let us see. I've got one really good question for all of us. So it is 11x minus. Okay. Just a minute. Where did it go? Hmm. Can you think of it? If x is tending to infinity, you have already told me that e raised to 11x minus 7x raised to 1 by 3x will tend to which form is this? Which indeterminate form will it become?
Infinity power 0, sir.
Sir, infinity raised to 0 form,
Great.
sir.
Okay, great. Infinity raised to 0. How do we solve infinity raised to 0 power? What do we do? Infinity raised to 0. If we have, like, let us just assume f of x raised to g of x. What do we do? Think. Like, you should be remembering this ideally. How do we solve infinity raised to 0? Forgot everyone. E raised to g of x into ln of f of x.
F of
ln
x,
of
sir.
x.
Right? Remember everyone?
Yes.
Yes,
Or
sir.
forgot? Okay. So e raised to g of x. G of x will be 1 by 3x. Right? Into ln of f of x. Correct, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Right?
Sir.
Everyone. Which form is this? Which form is this?
0 by 0.
Okay. Which form is this? Anyone else?
Sir, is it 0?
Why? Why is it 0? Like, if your x is tending to infinity, where is your e raised to 11x minus 7x tending to? Where is it going to?
Infinity, sir.
Okay. What is ln of infinity? Natural log of infinity.
Infinity, sir.
Correct.
Infinity,
Natural
sir.
log will go to infinity only.
Infinity.
Correct. Natural log of infinity will tend to infinity only. What about your x? X is already tending to infinity. So which form is this?
Infinite.
Infinite. Zero.
0 into infinity.
0 into infinity.
Infinity by
I
infinity.
mean, yeah,
Infinity
infinity
by
divided
zero.
by infinity. Infinity by 0 is not an indeterminate form. Okay. So you have got ln of e raised to 11x minus 7x whole divided by 3x. So you've got limit x tends to infinity, right? So if it is infinity by infinity form, what should we do in this case? I mean, what approach can we take to solve it?
Hospital.
Okay, great. Go for it. So limit x tends to infinity will remain as it is. What is the derivative of ln x? What is it?
1 by x.
Okay, 1 by x. So it will come down as 1 by e raised to 11x minus 7x. Okay. And then I will need to differentiate this thing. So it will be 11 into e raised to 11x minus 7. Fine. Whole divided by what is the derivative of 3x?
3, sir.
3.
Great. So I've got limit extends to infinity. 11 into e raised to 11x minus 7 whole divided by e raised to 11x minus 7x into 3. Which form is this? Which form is this?
0 by 0.
Infinity by
Infinity.
Infinity.
infinity by infinity, correct. Infinity divided by infinity, correct. E raised to 11x minus 7 whole divided by e raised to 11x minus 7x. So, do we know the solution of this? I mean, do we know how to solve this? We have got infinity by infinity form, and
11.
along with exponential function, we have a polynomial. So what do we do over here? What can we
I
do?
wrote it.
So the polynomial.
Yeah, ignore the polynomial. Navneet, ignore the
11.
polynomial. Navneet, ignore the polynomial. कर दोगे ignore? चलो. So
Infinity.
after ignoring the polynomial, just tell me what will come over here. Ignore the polynomial and tell me what I will get over here.
Level by 3.
No, I mean I wanted the whole thing actually. So
11 by
3 into,
11.
right?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So my
11
final
by
answer is
3.
11 by 3. Final answer is 11 by 3. So is 11 by 3 my final answer of the question? Like this
No.
question, final limit. What
No,
is
sir.
it? What is it? My final answer.
2 level by 3.
E
Two.
raised to
11 by
1 by
3.
E
How much?
raised to 11 by 3. E raised to
E
11 by
raised to
3.
11. Okay, great. E raised to 11 by 3. That is my final answer. Great. Right? E raised to 11 by 3. Everyone,
Yes.
Yes, sir.
great. So I hope now you get it. The trick. It really works, right? The trick I gave you really works and it really helps you to solve a difficult question. Like according to statistics, this was a really difficult question of 2019. Like I mean, very less percentage of people were able to solve it. Most of them were not able to figure out which form is this. Obviously, raised to infinity, they were able to figure out, but they were not able to get it. Is it 0 raised to infinity, 1 raised to infinity, or what? Like, they were not able to get that only. So I'm glad that we were able to do it in a very less time. Okay, great. So today, like, since very less time is left, so today I will be just talking about the basics only. That you have got, like, just assume that you have a polynomial divide by another polynomial. Okay. and your limit x is tending to 0. So just assume you have something like x raised to 0, c1 x raised to 0, or c0 x raised to 0 plus c1 x raised to 1 plus c2 x raised to 2 plus c3 x cube, c4 x raised to 4, so on, whole divided by uh, some x raised to, let us say, 4 power. Limit x tends to 0. 0 plus, to be more specific. Okay. So can you calculate the value of this? Will you be able
0
to
by
calculate the
0,
value?
sir.
It is 0 by 0. Okay, absolutely correct. 0 by 0. But what will be the value of this thing? Like the value of the limit. So you can just go about like putting x raised to 4 everywhere. So it will be c naught by x raised to 4 plus c1 by x raised to 3 plus c2 by x square plus c3 by x plus c4 plus c5x plus c6x square and so on, right? And your limit x is tending to 0. So can you tell me, if your limit x is tending to 0, all of these terms, where will they go?
0, sir.
0, correct. And what about this?
0, 0.
What about this? Like if your x is tending to 0, where is your 1 by x tending to?
Sir,
It is 0 plus.
infinity.
Okay. So
Infinity.
what will happen to these terms?
Same, sir. Infinity.
What will happen?
Infinity.
Infinity. They will go to infinity. Correct.
Infinity,
They
infinity.
will go to plus infinity. Correct. Absolutely correct. Plus infinity. Right? You all agree?
Yes, sir.
All of you agree to this? All of you agree that they will go to infinity. Now let me just assume a case, a
Yes,
very
sir.
small case.
ನಿನ್ನೆ ನಿಂಗೆ ಬರ್ಬೇಕಂತ ಇದ್ದಿದ್ದಿಲ್ಲ ಬರವಂದ್ರೆ
Assume c naught is equal to
ಸಾಕಿದ್ದಿಲ್ಲ
c1 is equal to c2 is equal to c3 is equal
ಕೋಲ
to 0.
ಅದು ಆಡೋದು ಹೋತಿಲ್ಲ ಕರ್ದಕ್ ಚಲೋನೇ ಇಲ್ಲ
Fine. Just assume this case. C naught is equal to c1 is equal to c2 is equal to c3 is equal to 0. What will happen now? What will be your value of limit now?
0.
0. Why? We have one
0
number
बचा
left
है.
in between. We have one number left in between. C4 is left over here, right? What will happen to these terms that were earlier going to infinity? What will happen to them? Where will they go?
0.
Okay, they will go to 0, correct.
0 is 0,
And
sir.
I will be left with C4. And the right of these terms, they are also 0. So I will get C4. Do
C4
you all
sir.
agree with this?
Yeah.
I will
Yes,
get
sir.
C4, right? So, like just seeing it again. So, for example, you have something like you have a polynomial, like your limit x is tending to 0. You have a polynomial at the top. Okay. C naught x raised to 0 plus C1 x raised to 1 plus C2 x square, C3 x cube, and so on, up to some powers. Okay. And in the base, you have x raised to some power of alpha. You have some x raised to power of alpha. And it is told to you that the value of this limit is finite. You have a finite value of limit.
నాకు ఉంది పార్టీ దానికి ఉంటుంది వచ్చి మనం డాన్సులు నేర్చుకుంటాం అక్కల్ని
Fine. You have a finite value of your limit. What will you interpret from this thing?
Hello,
What will you
sister.
interpret? What will you interpret? Can anyone tell me? If I give you something like this, and I tell you beforehand that alpha is a positive number. Okay, alpha is a positive number. And for the time being, just assume, like you can just assume that the top is an infinite polynomial. Where will it go to? Can you think about it?
0, sir.
Okay, like the top and bottom both are 0. But I am asking you, what can you interpret from this thing? Just, I am telling you that it is a finite value. Okay, it is a finite value. Just think about it. It is a finite. See, what will happen? Okay, so for the time being, I will just assume that my C naught is not equal to 0. If my C naught is not equal to 0, my first term over here will become C naught by x raised to alpha, right? C naught by x raised to alpha
Yes.
plus C1 by x raised to alpha minus 1 plus something like this. So currently I am assuming that C naught is not equal to 1. So if C naught is not equal to 1, what will be C naught divided by x raised to alpha?
0.
Sorry, not equal to 0. Yeah. So if C naught is not equal to 0, if x is tending to 0 plus, where is 1 by x tending to?
Infinity.
Infinity? Great. 1 by x is tending to infinity. So where will 1 by x raised to alpha go to? 1 by x raised to alpha, where will they tend to?
Infinity.
Infinity.
And I am telling you that my C naught is not 0. My value of C naught is not equal to 0. So where will this thing go to?
Infinity, sir.
Infinity.
Great. Infinity. Infinity. It will go to infinity. So just think back. So this is your, this is your homework for today. To think that what can I infer from this thing? If I get something like this, a polynomial, something like this, and it is given to me that the value of the limit is finite. Okay, I have a finite value of limit. What can I interpret from this thing? Fine. So obviously you can interpret that your C naught can't be equal to 0, right? You all agree that if your C naught is not equal to 0, then your value
C1
of
not
the
equal
limit
to 1.
will no, I am telling you, if your C naught is not equal to 0, then the value of your limit will tend to infinite. If I want to keep the value of my limit a finite value, any finite value, so obviously my C naught should be 0. Do you all agree?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, my C naught should be 0. But the same thing will go for a few powers ahead. And that is your homework for today. You need to think the logic behind this, up to what powers will it go. Fine. Okay, so that's it for today. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Sir,
Okay.
so students join the
Sir,
next
please end the
session.
class.
Sure, sir. Thank you, sir.